Hello and welcome to another Royal Reviewer channel episode, and today there's a few things I want to talk about, but the main thing that I really want to talk about is that the royal family made a mistake yesterday when they updated the line of succession. They made a mistake with the titles of formerly James Viscount Severn, now Earl of Wessex. And it was quite a big mistake. I mean, really, it's quite embarrassing for the palace to actually have put out that level of mistake, especially when this was obviously planned in advance. So to make this level of mistake, I think, is quite embarrassing. Will heads roll at the palace? I do not know. But some, flunky men or woman in grey suit made a humongous mistake. And it took about 7-8 hours for it to be corrected. In fact, it was pointed out, I do believe, on social media, which may have actually led to the eventual spotting of the mistake and then correction of it. So yesterday, when they updated the line of succession to include Prince Edward's new ducal title, the Duke of Edinburgh, they got it correct with him. Edward is the Duke of Edinburgh, and of course, his wife Sophie is the Duchess of Edinburgh. Where they went wrong was they confused the usage of courtesy titles. So Edward's son, James, formerly Viscount Severn, can use a subsidiary title, a lesser title, that his father owns, which of course his lesser title is now the Earl of Wessex. So on the website, they listed him as the Earl of Wessex, which is technically incorrect. Now, I remember reading that first thing in the morning. I was bleary-eyed, I was in bed, and I thought that's not correct. That a subsidiary title, if you're using it in a subsidiary way, you are not the main title holder. Edward is still the Earl of Wessex. So I thought it was a bit weird. And I did question it. I did try and look, but because I wanted to make the video, I didn't look as far as going into Debrets or anything of that nature. I thought maybe that the palace was using it in a different way. I thought maybe even there was a new way of using subsidiary titles that they were kind of revealing. I didn't mention it because I didn't know at the time, but I did think that it was unusual because that's not how subsidiary titles of dukes have been used previously. But I went along with it anyway because it was the palace. They put it out there. So it must be true and correct, right? A big mistake. I think if you have an inkling, if you have a feeling about something, if you think that something is not correct, then you need to sort of look into it and follow your instinct. So that's a lesson learned for me. Anyway, the palace did make a mistake. They shouldn't have put the in front of Earl of Wessex. It should have just been Earl of Wessex or James Earl of Wessex. So that's what you can address him as. He can be referred to as Earl of Wessex without the in front of it, or James Earl of Wessex. And they decided to update the website as being James Earl of Wessex. So that is what formally his new title by courtesy is. Now, I could read you a whole passage from Debrets explaining this. I did find it online, but it's quite long-winded and would probably confuse quite a lot of people. So I'm trying to keep it really, really simple. Basically, if you are using a title out of courtesy that belongs to your father or parent that holds that title, then you cannot put the in front. Edward is still the Earl of Wessex, and of course James can be James Earl of Wessex. So you can have sort of two Earl of Wessexes existing at the same time, but you can only have one main title holder, who of course is still Prince Edward, the Earl of Wessex. So another thing that I wanted to address, kind of leading on from yesterday, is of course the controversial. Now, I didn't know how controversial the decision to recreate in this new creation the Dukedom of Edinburgh title as a non-hereditary dukedom, because of course formerly it was hereditary. And a few people got confused as well, thinking that Prince Philip's dukedom of Edinburgh was non-hereditary. It was hereditary. It actually passed to Charles. Charles inherited the dukedom of Edinburgh upon Prince Philip's passing, and it only reverted to the crown when Charles became king. So Queen Elizabeth, the late Queen, could not redistribute that title to Edward in her lifetime. She knew that that would have to wait until her eventual passing. And I think there was an issue about how far down the line of succession that title would go. It's quite a prominent royal dukedom, and I think Charles wanted to keep it higher up the family. So I think all of this talk about having a slimmed down monarchy, I actually think we've seen the beginning of that yesterday, and also the way in which Charles is going to do that. I think perhaps when a new ducal title or an earldom is created, I think we may have seen the last of hereditary titles. What we might be seeing is the start of peerages for lifetime only, and then they revert back to the crown. This could be what Charles has always meant by a slimmed down monarchy, and it would be a more modern, in line with what a lot of other European monarchies do to kind of slim down their ducal titles and earldoms and peerages within the royal family. So I think that's what we might be seeing, and I think that is the reason why. But don't feel too bad for James, Earl of Wessex. He is still going to inherit the earldom of Wessex, the earldom of Forfar, and all of the other of Edward's subsidiary titles. Another controversial thing that people are now talking about is the fairness of how females are treated within peerages. Don't be confused with how the late Queen Elizabeth changed the rules of primogeniture. Now, primogeniture is when, I've spoken about this before, when a younger brother can supplant an elder sister in the line of succession. That has been changed. But in terms of inheriting peerages, that kind of thing, that has not been changed. That has not been addressed. Also, what hasn't been addressed is if and when Charlotte eventually has children, there is no provision currently in place for any potential children to have HRHs or to be prince or princess or any kind of titles. I think what the royal family is going to do under Charles or William, depending upon if and when Charlotte has children, I think they're going to cross that bridge when they come to it. I think in line with modern values, I think something will be done. I think under William, at least, something will be done. Charlotte is probably expected to become the Princess Royal at some point when that title becomes vacant, and Prince Louis, will probably get the Dukedom of York or Edinburgh, depending upon which may be available at the time. Now, yesterday, this again, I did speak about that this announcement was planned, unlike the Sussexes, and I do firmly believe now that the royal family were on the back foot with the Sussexes announcement of the taking up the usage of Prince and Princess for Archie and Lilibet. I think that, the fact that the website took so long to update showed that they were not prepared. I think, and also when I reread the Sussex statement saying, that it was all in line with Buckingham Palace, I think it gave the impression that they'd had conversations behind the scenes with Buckingham Palace to agree it all, perhaps that Charles had said that he wasn't going to update or issue new letters patent to change anything. I think what they were actually referring to is the George V Convention. And of course, we know that they are fully aware of it because they spoke about it on the Oprah interview. I think they were referring to the fact that it was their birthright under the George V Convention, and that basically, that is settled with the palace because the George V Convention has not been changed and updated with new letters patent. So I do think that the royal family were on the back foot. I think they always probably knew that, I think they were just waiting for Harry and Meghan to make up their minds, and it took 6 months to do so. And I don't think they were expecting the occasion of the christening of Lilibet to make that announcement. So as I said, I think the Dukedom of Edinburgh title announcement was planned and it was coordinated with a royal visit. I do want to speak about this because it was a really nice visit for a very important occasion. So on the royal family website, they posted some beautiful photos, and there is a clip which I will show you in a moment. And it says, the new Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh have attended a reception at the City Chambers to recognise Edinburgh's work in supporting Ukrainian refugees and to thank the volunteers who are supporting them. During the reception, their Royal Highnesses met members of the Ukrainian and Eastern European diaspora in Edinburgh, including families who have made the city their home since the beginning of the conflict last year. And there are some gorgeous photos which I will show you. Sophie looks absolutely amazing. I mean, that beautiful blue colour on her. But the one thing, I mean, at the moment, I'm on series 5 of The Handmaid's Tale. Now, if you have seen The Handmaid's Tale, I will pop some pictures if you haven't seen it, but she is dressed just like a Gilead wife, isn't she? My goodness, she's giving Mrs. Putnam vibes. She really is. And just look at that outfit. That is something straight out of Gilead. It really is. And Edward's looking a little bit Gileadish as well. My goodness. So I just thought I would throw that in because it did make me smile. I mean, is Sophie a fan of The Handmaid's Tale? Are you a fan of The Handmaid's Tale? Let me know in the comment section below. So the next clip I'm going to show you is a really, really funny one, and it made everyone laugh in the room. Edward is really, really good at speeches and public speaking. He always puts everyone at ease. I remember making a video, where he made everyone laugh, and he still does that. He's got a really good sense of humour, and I think he actually does inherit that from the Queen. The late Queen, was never really known for her humour, but I think she did have a little bit of a wicked sense of humour behind the scenes. And I think Prince Harry, in fact, bonded with the Queen over their sense of humour. Remember the mic drop moment? So the Queen definitely had a sense of humour. I think she's passed it on to Edward, and he always puts everyone at ease. So he referred to Sophie as the Duchess, and everyone clapped and applauded, and it was really, really sweet. So here it is.
Thank you very much indeed for welcoming us to Edinburgh today on indeed a very special and for a slightly overwhelming day for now my wife and Duchess. And just to thank you for that.
Another point I should also make as well that I can't remember if I mentioned it or not, but when in Scotland, the new Duke of Edinburgh will be known as the Duke of Edinburgh because it is seen or regarded as a higher Scottish title than the Earl of Forfar. The Earl of Forfar, as I said, remains with Edward. It's still one of his subsidiary Scottish titles, but that will not likely be used in the future. He will just be referred to as the Duke of Edinburgh, and of course Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh. So thank you for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, then please give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to share on social media, and of course do hit that bell so that you know whenever I upload a new video. So from me in Shropshire, mwah to you all, and goodbye.